Hello, I'm Afiq Ahzar bin Jafni, metric number 310010. I will explain the introduction and overview of the rising cost of living in Malaysia despite low inflation.
My name is Hana Hairunisa. My metric number is 309147, and I'll be explaining about the causes of rising cost of living.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Natasha bint Abdul Rashid. My number matrix is 309448. I'm from group 3. So for my part, I will be discussing the impacts of inflation on the society.
My name is Nursafiya Tamizi. My matrix number is 309425 and I will be explaining the economic terms for this topic.
Hello everyone, my name is Lisi and my metric number is 309182. I'm from Group 3 and my part is solution and conclusion.
In Malaysia today, many people feel that life is getting more expensive. Even basic necessities like food, rent, transportation are becoming harder to afford. But surprisingly, official reports show that inflation is relatively low. So why does the cost of living still feel so high? Cost of living refers to the amount of the money needed to maintain a certain standard of living. This includes daily expenses such as food, housing, transportation, and utilities. Inflation is the rate at which the general price level of goods and services increase over time. It is usually measured using the Consumer Price Index or CPI. Although Malaysia's inflation rate has remained relatively moderate, many households still struggle with rising living costs. Prices of daily goods continue to increase, while wages do not grow at the same pace. This creates gap between income and expenses, making it difficult for many Malaysians, especially B40 group, to cope. In this video, we will explore the causes, impact, and possible solution to this issue.
The cost of living refers to the amount of money people need to pay for basic necessities such as food, housing, transportation, healthcare, and education. According to sinarharian.com, Malaysia's inflation increased by 1.6% in January 2026, with the index point increasing to 135.7 from 133.6 in the same month last year, said the Department of Statistics Malaysia. For some years, many families have struggled because prices continue to rise faster than income. The first cause is the increase in food and basic necessities prices. According to International Monetary Fund, they define inflation as a broad, long-lasting increase in the prices of goods and services, which reduces the purchasing power of money. When the cost of raw materials, production, and transportation increases, business transfer these higher costs to consumers. As a result, daily necessities such as rice, vegetables, cooking oil, and electricity become more expensive. This situation reduces people's purchasing power, especially for low and middle income families. This article said that people's purchasing power is decreasing now, down 23.3% in 13 years. The second cause is higher rental and housing costs. Housing demand in urban areas is increasing, while the supply of affordable houses is still limited. Because of this imbalance, rental prices and house prices continue to rise. In addition, higher construction costs and land prices also contribute to expensive housing. The third cause is weak currency value. When a country's currency weakens, imported goods become more expensive. For example, products imported from other countries such as food, medicine, and electronic items will cost more because business need to pay higher import costs. Economists call this imported inflation. The fourth cause is rising transportation costs, including fuel prices and toll charges. This is the chart of Malaysia fuel trends in 2026. As we can see, the fuel price on April is the highest that can lead to inflation. Transportation is very important because almost all goods must be delivered from factories to shops. When fuel price increase, transportation companies face higher operating costs. These extra costs are charged to consumer for higher product charges. In conclusion, the rising cost of living is mainly caused by higher price of basic goods, expensive housing, weak currency value, and increasing transportation costs that make life more challenging for many people. Therefore, governments and society must work together to control inflation and improve people's standard of living.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. So for my part, I will be discussing the impact of inflation on society. So as we can see, first inflation can come from different sources. For example, during 1970s, we are facing a high inflation due to high increase of oil. Just like we are facing nowadays, we are facing the high increase of prices in petroleum. So this is known as an aggregate supply shock. On the other hand, on 1980s, inflation was caused by a sharp and strict monetary policies where interest rates were increased, and this will cause the inflation to decrease. So this is called as an aggregate demand shock. So different causes of inflation can lead to different effects on people. So inflation can also affect wages, employment, and also asset prices like houses and stocks. So this means that households experience inflation differently depending on their income and financial situation. Moreover, we can also see that the inflation gives an impact on financial well-being, as we all know that financial well-being plays a crucial role in our daily life. We can take a look back during 2019 where COVID-19 pandemic has happened, and this gives inflation to rise. So during this pandemic, it causes the rise overnight policy rate, which is OPR in Malaysia. So because of this, it leads to a higher cost of living and financial hardship. This will give an impact to a poor financial well-being in terms of physical and mental health, and also social well-being. Not just that, it also leads to a lower academic performance. So this is where the B40 group, seen as vulnerable, we here will highly affected by economic changes, more likely to face the financial instability, overspending habits, especially among the youth, where we need to improve in financial management.
Malaysian official inflation is very low, which is 1 or 2%. However, the cost of living such as food, petrol, and other necessities are still very high. So in this section, I will be explaining on the economic terms on why it is happening. Okay, so first of all, low inflation doesn't mean low prices. Inflation measures how fast the price is going, not the level of prices. So even 1% of inflation means price goes up from a very high base. Bank Negara notes people compare today's price to the past. A World Bank reports find that inflation under 2%, yet many Malaysians still face slow income growth and high debt. In other words, low inflation only means lower price increase. It doesn't make things cheaper. Number 2, fast price hikes. As mentioned by my group members earlier, the price started to rise in 2017 because of the oil price spike. So for this section, price also jumped after events such as the 2015 GST. Even if inflation eased later, those higher prices stayed. Bank Negara explains that people still feel restrained when costs remain above earlier levels. Khazanah research also found that despite very low measured inflation, low-income households were squeezed by living costs. Third, Malaysian citizens' wages growth are very slow. This is the third reason on why the inflation is low, but the cost of living is still very high. Wages does not go a long way with the increase of cost of living. So Malaysian median pay grew only about 2 to 4% only for every year from the past 2015 to 2022. Inflation spikes to 3 to 4% outstripped by wages gain. Studies note that the median and mean wage growth has consistently lagged behind inflation. With wages only inching up, many households feel poorer and poorer even with low inflation. In conclusion, even though our inflation in our country is very low, the cost of living is not very cheap in Malaysia. So, even with the high base price, the slow wage, and the rapidly rising essential, the citizens still feel squeezed by 1 or 2% of inflation.
There are several simple solutions to ease away the cost of living in Malaysia. First, the government should control the price of basic goods like food and fuel, because it can prevent price increase suddenly, and it can reduce citizens' daily spending. Second, raising the minimum wage, because since the salary grows slowly, a higher minimum wage can improve people's purchasing power, especially for B40 group. Third, the government can provide more subsidy effectively items such as electricity or fuel. Their subsidy effectively lower the household living costs. In conclusion, low inflation can make life cheaper. Higher price lower the pay make life harder. So we work together and live better.